Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Do Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day.
It is St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Bob. How are you today?
Thank you, Tom. I'm doing well. I'm excited because we ordered some corned beef and cabbage for lunch today from a local restaurant, and that's one of my favorites. So looking forward to I can taste it right now, and that's how my wife and I have celebrated that some years, and so I'm looking forward. How about you? Do you partake of the corned beef and cabbage and all that good stuff?
Corned beef and cabbage has never, despite the fact that my family is that I'm like 75% Irish.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, corned beef and cabbage, I don't know. Never really appealed to me.
Okay.
I think because my family is so Irish, they'd rather go have a pint somewhere. That's the way that we're going to celebrate. Not that that's what I do, but that's
I was going to say, that doesn't work for you either, so you got nothing.
That would be the family thing for my family. Anyhow, good morning, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope that you're doing well. I'm Tom Brush. That's Bob Graham. And this is today's Antidote, where we try to provide that one thing. And no, it's not that corned beef and cabbage is great, although that might be helpful to someone today. And if they hadn't really thought about what they were going to eat for dinner, it is to help you, for us, that we share one thing based on the topic that we're discussing that might help you move forward, might help you take your next steps. And we hope that along the way, one of the things we found is that just because it's real for us doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's real from this conversation for you. So we hope that you will provide your comments. We also hope that if you are so inclined, you will offer your one thing at the end of this episode so that it might help us or it might help someone else so that we can continue to move along the pathway to success.
Doesn't have to be at the end, Tom. It could be in the middle, right? You could put your one thing right now, like, I never had corned beef and cabbage before. You guys have made me think I should try it. That would be a great one thing.
Absolutely. They are able to put it in. You are a renegade. If you're watching this, you're a renegade. You can choose to do it when you would like to do it. So we encourage that. So all week we are talking about what's possible. And, on Monday, we really sort of got you to think about it, to dream. What is a dream? What would things look like? Yesterday, we talked about how it would feel, because it's one thing to be in our head. It's another thing to really dive into how is that going to make our body feel? How are we going to be different because of this? So today our topic is going to be, are you committed to it? And how committed are you to making this a reality? But before we do that, Bob, why don't you share a little bit about our upcoming workshop next Monday?
Hey, it's that time. Yes, next Monday, coming up right around the corner. Monday is Eliminate Your Obstacles, Making Your Renegade Pathway Easier. Workshops, yes, there's a workshop at 10 a.m. There's a workshop at 7 p.m. These 90-minute sessions are not going to be Tom and me talking at you. We're going to be working with you to come up with strategies, come up with what the obstacles are. You may know what they are. You may not know what they are. I'm amazed at how many times I think one obstacle is an obstacle, but it's actually something else altogether. And once I get clarity about what that other thing is, it makes things easier. So we're going to talk about obstacles, how to overcome obstacles, and actually help you move past an obstacle. That's right. If you're coming on Monday to either of those workshops, just come up with an obstacle you're facing, and we'll help you through it. How was that, Tom?
That was good. Let me ask you this. What's the one takeaway? If you could say, yeah, this is the one thing you're going to walk away with from that hour and a half with us, what would you offer?
Clarity about what's standing in your way and how to move past that one thing, whatever it is.
Great. So we hope that you will join us. Bob, I'm sure, is going to be putting in the chat
right now
the link to get there. So we look forward to seeing you on Monday. We know that we're approaching a new quarter for the year. And so we hope that there, I'm sure, are some things that have stood in your way the first 3 months of the year. So we want to help you not only, hopefully you have been able to address it, to at least understand it. Now let's figure out how you can move past it. So that will be our workshop on Monday, and we hope to see you then. Please invite a friend. They are welcome as well. So now let's get back to our topic about what's possible. And I think that this idea of are you committed to it is, I think it's a key piece, a key component of the process. Because we can dream about a lot of things. How many are we truly committed to, and how committed are we to achieving those? So do you want to share some thoughts about that, Bob?
Yeah, I would tell you that throughout my life, I've seen people say that they want to do something, and they don't accomplish it. So the best example I can have is when my wife and I were running a lot. We were running 5Ks, and then 10Ks, and then 10 milers, and we did a half marathon. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I've always wanted to run a half marathon. I've always wanted to run a marathon. But they never took the steps to do that. They never went out and ran. They didn't figure out a training regimen and all that. And I think the difference between those of us who are making our vision become reality and those of us who are talking about it is the commitment. And the commitment comes in a lot of different ways. It comes with time. You have to commit time. It comes with choices. There have been plenty of days where I would love to go out and hit golf balls or play golf or go to the beach, but I was working on a book. I was working on calls. I was perfecting a marketing piece. You've got to show that commitment. And it can't be, I want to have a successful business. That's not what commitment looks like. Commitment looks like I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to work at this every day. And I'm going to let the things that get in my way, they're not going to stop me. They may slow me down, but they're not going to stop me. And I think a lot of us talk about commitment in a very cavalier way. Well, I'm committed to my business. But then you ask them, it's like, well, okay, describe to me what that commitment's like. Well, I really don't want to make sales calls. Okay. Or I really don't want to put myself out there. I hate doing networking. I hate talking to other people about what I do. I'm afraid to ask people for the buy, you need to buy from me. I'm afraid to tell a customer that I don't want to work with them anymore because they just, all those things are part of commitment. And those are some of the big ones I think of, but there are probably 1,000 things that show our commitment. From what time do you get up in the morning? I was working with one person who went from a full-time job to running their own business, and they were getting up at 11:30 and then working from like 12:30 to 2. And they couldn't understand why things weren't just popping. It's like, well, I have all this know-how. And I said, because the world has been operating from 8:30 to 12:30 and you let them get a head start. And so we've got to really think about what commitment is. And there are days when I'm totally committed to what I'm doing. And there are days where I'm like, why? Why would I do this? What was I thinking? There have been some mornings where I'm like, why do we do this thing at 8 o'clock every day? Why didn't we do it 3 days a week? Or why didn't we just do it when we were in the mood? Why were we consistent about this? Because I really would like a day off. But those are the days to me when I show up on those days, that's when I see my own commitment. And I think that's when the world recognizes a commitment. It's easy to do things when they're all working. To me, commitment is when things aren't working, when you don't feel like doing it, when you don't have the solution, when you're not sure how to proceed, and you still get in there and do what you've got to do.
Well, and I think that's the value, one of the values of obstacles. As much as we don't like them, as much as we don't want them, that obstacles really cause us to look at how committed are we to what we're trying to do. Is this hurdle, large, small, medium size, whatever, going to stop me from what I want to achieve? And am I truly committed to that? And I think that you can show commitment in a lot of different ways, and you can be very committed to something. And that commitment is what is going to help move you forward. And I think that becomes the challenge, is that if we can let obstacles stop us, there is no doubt about that. Or we can choose to say, all right, what am I going to learn from this obstacle? And how am I going to move forward? And I think that has been, if you want to look at the last year, you've really found out who's committed to what they're doing. Is this something I'm committed to? All right, these huge obstacles have been put in my path throughout the entire year. And it wasn't like it was one. Typically it was one and then another and then another and then another and another. Anytime along any of those paths, it could be easy for anyone to bail out on whatever they were doing and being like, you know what? This isn't for me. I need to go another way. And that can be okay. That's a choice that you choose. Or you can stay committed to what you believe in and figure out, what does that mean next? How am I going to move forward? How am I going to get past this? And how am I going to gain from what I understood? And I think that piece of it is really critical about, that's why if what our dream is strong enough and we know how we're going to feel when we accomplish it, it can be a whole lot easier to be committed to what we're trying to achieve.
Indeed. I think that's it. I'm trying to figure out who sent us this comment. I'm not sure. Oh, Bob, you just cracked me up. I cannot say how often I've asked myself, why are you doing this? Don't you have enough frustration in your life? Then I remember how incredibly frustrated I was working a regular job. Owning my own business could be terrifying at times, but the rewards are definitely worth the effort. That is the renegade way right there, explained in simple language. There are two choices. This person has determined that it is the right thing to go forward. And yeah, I mean, it's okay. You can still be committed, I think, Tom, and have days where you go, why am I doing this? Don't you have enough frustration in your life? It's what you do with that. It's what the ultimate answer is. If the ultimate answer is, yeah, I'm just going to sit and watch TV or read a book, that's not quite like those of us who get up and say, okay, this is frustrating. This is driving me crazy, but I'm going to find my way forward. I'm going to figure this out one way or another. No matter what it takes, I'm committed to it. And you and I have done this throughout this year, Tom. We've had to figure some things out. And there have been days when it's like, really? I thought that would work. Why didn't that work? What went wrong?
Or we could ask, what did I learn?
Right.
And I think that's that becomes the challenge, is I think sometimes we have to be okay with the obstacles in our face, and it's going to stop us for a little bit. It's going to slow us down. There are days when you might be like, you know what? I just need a day off. I need to take a break from this. And that could be okay. It doesn't mean you're not committed to what you're doing. It's just that you're better understanding, why are you feeling that way? What is that obstacle? And you know what? Maybe that obstacle is something that I identify is going to happen every 6 weeks or every 3 weeks. I'm going to be like, I'm going to hit that point where I just have to get away from this for a minute so that I can be better prepared the next time I show up. So if there is a chance where you say, you know what, I'm struggling today and I'm going to take the afternoon off. I'm going to go hit golf balls. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to do something that allows me to address this obstacle I'm feeling. The key is, if you are truly committed, the next day you have learned from that and you're now moving forward and you're back to where you want to be. And that obstacle, all it has done is reinforce to you why you're doing what you're doing. And I think sometimes we think that is like a weakness. That if we wake up one day and we're not feeling it. We're not at a point where we're like, oh yeah, I know I'm committed to this, but man, I just need to do something different today and be okay with it. And I think rather than beating ourselves up for it, if we understand that is an obstacle that is going to occur on a regular basis, and maybe we can be better prepared for it the next time it comes around. So that thing that we were putting off, because I'll do this on Tuesday. Oh, well, you know what? Tuesday is the day in the week where I'm really like, oh man, I just not feeling it. So what can I do differently to be better prepared to say Tuesday afternoon, I'm not going to work? We've talked about this together about like, how do we make Friday afternoons a free time? And what is the value of that? And that doesn't mean that we're not committed to our business or what we're trying to accomplish. It just means that we are understanding that by that time Friday, we're kind of burnt out. And we need an opportunity to go out and recharge ourselves. And so that is a decision that we made, that this was an obstacle that was hitting us. We are taking an action to not only allow ourselves to understand that and be prepared for it the next week, it'll also allow us to do what we need to do so that we can, when that obstacle comes, be prepared for it and then move on as committed as we've been in the past.
I want to dispel one myth, Tom, that I've confronted with a lot of people about commitment. And that's if you're not at your desk doing your job from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, you're not committed. And one of the great things about owning a business is you can time shift. You can go play golf Friday afternoon, but when I play golf Friday afternoon, that usually means Sunday or Saturday morning, I'm going to be working to replace that time. And there might be a day where I work every Thursday. I've been doing workshops that go until 8:30 in the evening. I've been trying to make a point on Thursday of getting out of the office during the day for about 2 hours to just keep a balance there. So I worry because sometimes people are like, well, if you're not there from 9 to 5, you're not committed. You could work 12 to 8, you could work 12 to 3, and then you could work 9 to 4 in the morning. You have a lot of flexibility. Your commitment is, are you doing the things you need to do to keep your business moving forward? And when the obstacles come up, are you finding ways around them? Are you finding ways to move past them? Which is what our workshop that we're doing on Monday is all about. Is
Sure.
Literally, you're committed to your business, but the obstacles come up. How do you move past them? That's why we're doing it. It's like this all comes together, Tom.
It's like we planned that out. I think the other thing is it's a question of what are you committed to, right? Are you committed to the goal, or are you committed to the appearance that if I go to my desk and I sit there and do something from 9 to 5, that I am moving closer to my goals? In my regard, that means you're committed to time, not goals or outcomes, what you're trying to achieve. And I think there is a big difference. I think appearance of commitment, or, maybe we're putting what we both think we're committed to by just sitting at our desk more hours. I used to think that. Actually, I had someone tell me once early on in my career that yes, our hours are 9 to 5, but people in leadership roles need to stay till 6 or 6:30. And I was kind of like, okay. So I'll sit at my desk, and even though I'm done what I was trying to accomplish for the day, I'll sit there. That's what I'm supposed to do. To me, that's being committed to time, to an appearance, not to making progress towards moving forward. And I think there are times that's confusing. That we're not, that if we can make progress, if we can be really committed and focused for 4 hours in a day and get done what we need to get done, that could be enough. And someone would say, well, you're only working 4 hours a day. Well, I got done what I needed to get done. And it's helping me move forward with whatever it is I'm trying to do to move forward.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was talking to an executive last week, and he was telling me that he had only worked about 4 or 5 hours in the first 3 days of the week. But I had been involved with him for about 2.5 of those 3 or 4 hours. And they were important hours, like hard, really setting things up for the future time. And I'm like, dude, that hour you logged there, that was a full day. That wasn't like 15 minutes. That was like a day, if not a week, if not a month's worth of work. And sometimes we have that. I mean, I've had moments where, if I score a really great speaking gig, that's a huge thing. And that's a lot of effort to get to a very compressed thing. So we have to think about that. Tom, I put a question in the chat for people. What's a clear sign that you are really committed to what you are creating? And I will tell you, this morning was one of those days where I realized at about 5 to 8, when I still hadn't connected with you, that I was really committed to doing this program because I was just not in the mood for it. And it's like, I still got to do this. I made a commitment to Tom. This is part of what we do. This is consistency. And so that was a sign to me right off the bat today, like I really am committed to what we're trying to achieve, to helping entrepreneurs and business leaders and owners figure out their way. So I would ask everyone, what's that clear sign to you today that you're really committed to what you're creating? Do you know what your sign is, Tom, today that you're really committed?
I think I'm really committed because I'm willing to know, I'm willing to consider that I don't always have all the answers, that I'm not always right, that it's just real. And so if I believe that, I believe I can figure out, I can take the next step. I think that's it for me, is that I'm always thinking about like, what's next, without disregarding what has happened, but that's a part of what's next. I think that if I wasn't committed, I would just be like, okay, I'm happy to go along and do this. Let's just keep doing this. I think the fact that we are always trying to evolve and trying to figure out what is the next best step, not only for us, more importantly, for the people who pay attention, the people who are in our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, the people who are in our Renegade Success Network. It could be easily just be like, okay, yeah, it's all good. We're just going to continue down the same path. We're going to just keep doing what we've always done. And I think being committed is being willing to say, how can this change for the better? What is something I could do differently? And I think that to me maybe is the ultimate thing, is I'm willing to ask the question, what could I do differently? That I'm not just comfortable with status quo. I think
that's being a renegade, right?
Correct.
That's the thing for renegades. They ask what if or why, and when the person says, "Well, we've always done it that way," they're the ones who go, "But why? Tell me the history. Help me understand the logic," and then they figure out a way to do it that might be different. Not always better, but different. And from that comes great opportunity. So, Tom, what's your one thing today? I kind of took us down a rabbit hole of a question, but I don't think it's a bad one.
My one thing today is I think that it's helpful to ask yourself that question. How committed am I to my dream? And give it a number. I think we can sit in our head. I think so often we just keep things in our head and we think that that's really making a decision, that that's really stating a goal. I think that's when we put it out there. I know that can be scary, can be, we put out a workshop without really being 100% positive of that was our idea. That was our next step. We think this is what could be helpful. So we're going to put it out there and see what happens. And I think that if we just kept it in our heads, are we really committed to it, or is it just a dream? And so I think that as you sit down and think about where you want your business, your team, your organization to go, how committed are you to making that happen? And give it a number. And if it's not a 10, and remember, 10 doesn't mean you're just going to spend every hour of every day doing it. That means you're committed to time. If you're committed to put in whatever the time, effort, and energy you need to accomplish it, if you're not a 10, you ought to wonder why. And what do I need to do to have it become a 10?
I love that. I'm trying to write a poll right now to put in the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, which, by the way, if you haven't joined the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, you're missing out on the opportunity to share with a lot of other renegades, entrepreneurs, business leaders, people really trying to achieve their goal, their dream, and they're sharing with each other their joys, their successes, their frustrations, their worries. And it is so invigorating to be in a group of people that are open to each other and willing to share with each other what's real for them without worrying about someone criticizing them, saying you're wrong, saying you're silly. There's just so much information in there that's just invaluable to me as a business leader. And if you're someone who's feeling isolated at any time, I will tell you this Facebook group, you can overcome that easily. And I would even encourage you, if you haven't done it already, talk to someone in that group, set up a time and talk to them. Like hop on the phone, do a Zoom chat with them and really get to know those people. They are great people. Every single one of them that I've met as we close in on 900 members, I've probably met 250, 300 of them one way or another. They're awesome people. They're the kind of people I want to surround myself with to grow my business, which is what we started almost a year ago, Tom, to do that very thing. And it's happening. So to me, some days we think about, well, are we ever going to achieve our dream? Some days, like today, I go, wow, we really are achieving it. That we almost have 900 people that are rowing in the same direction, at least when it comes to how they approach the world.
Right.
So we probably should wrap up now, Tom.
Absolutely.
Do you want to wrap it up, or I kind of led us there, but you can take it home?
So if you want to become a part of our growing group, growing community, just go to Facebook and search for Ring of Renegades. It's a private group. All you have to do is ask to join and tell us why you're a renegade. And then you can become a part of this group that is trying to help one another take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. So please come be a part of that. And actually Friday is our 100th. Actually, Friday is our 1 year anniversary of the first episode of today's Antidote. Hard to believe. So we hope that you will join us for that special edition of today's Antidote. And until then, we hope we'll see you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we will see you back here tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Carving your own path is tough. You want and need a community to offer you insights and advice, share inspiration, provide support, and save you time and money. But where do you find all that? Here's the easy answer: the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners identify their next steps. Here's some of what you will find at the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Just go to ringofrenegades.com and join today. Find and accomplish those next steps.